launching a tasty pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs, and we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
Welcome back to Legendary Foods, Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today is Thursday, September 30th, 2021. Let's find out what's going on in the world of bodybuilding and fitness. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back and happy Thursday. There are a few big storylines from last weekend that we haven't covered on the show yet. So we're going to try to make up for some of that now by starting with William Bonac. As you know, William didn't compete at the Arnold last weekend because travel restrictions prevented him from leaving the country. And as of the time we recorded this show, the situation still hasn't been resolved, which leaves his status with the Olympia way up in the air. And here's the thing, there are a ton of international athletes competing across all these divisions, so the idea that travel restrictions could have a major impact on the outcome next weekend is still a very real possibility. And even though we all hope that it doesn't come to that, the reality of the situation is that we still don't know because things are, well, they are unpredictable. And I'm sure you've heard by now that Whitney Jones was the other notable absence from the Arnold last weekend, except it wasn't due to travel restrictions, it was because of a failed COVID test. Now, as far as I know, Whitney's health is fine, and she should be good to go in the Olympia. That being said, I do think this is also worth paying attention to because there's a good chance that we could have one or even multiple athletes not being able to compete Olympia weekend due to positive COVID tests. But again, just like with the travel restrictions, there's no way to predict or prevent any athlete from testing positive or even to having to pull out because they were in close contact with someone. We haven't talked about it much this year, but the specter of COVID is still definitely lingering over the sports world. So all we can do is hope that it isn't part of the storylines next weekend, because Olympia weekend is supposed to be a culminating moment when we all come together and celebrate this thing that we all love. Not a time to sit around and lament what could have been under different circumstances. Even if you're not a big movie person, I think most people agree that sequels are hardly ever as good as the original, except The Godfather. But every once in a while, there is a rare occasion when the sequel is actually better than the original. And the reason I bring this up is because the stuff that we've been hearing about Ramy since he landed here in the US leads you to believe that this year's sequel is going to be way better than last year's original, which is pretty hard to do considering that he essentially went in there and leveled the field. And not even one calendar year later, we're talking about this again. Last season, he finally became the version of Ramy that we all been waiting to see for the last 4 or 5 years. So if this year's sequel really is as good or much better than the original, then that means that we're about to see an all-time box office smash when he takes the stage next weekend. And finally, I'm sad to say that we're ending the show today by wishing a melancholy trails to Golden Era icon, the Brown Bomber, Leon Brown, who passed away on Friday, September 24th. Throughout the course of his Hall of Fame career, Leon was considered to be one of the true trailblazers in bodybuilding. He became the first bodybuilder to be featured in Sports Illustrated in 1972. He was a member of the cast of the original Pumping Iron, and his head-to-head battles with other Golden Era icons like Arnold, Sergio Oliva, Franco Columbu, and Frank Zane are the stuff of legend. Leon Brown was truly one of a kind, and the impact of his loss is one that is felt throughout the entire bodybuilding community. I want to send my deepest condolences out to Leon's family and his friends as they celebrate his life and mourn his loss. Rest in peace, my good friend.